Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a special one. It's a story that involves possible illegal trade and government scandal, but ends in a guitar company giving it to the man in the best way possible. This is the history behind Gibson's Government Series, and make sure you stick around to the end for how this wild story about the Gibson Guitar Company comes to a conclusion. Let's check it out. The story begins in the year 1900 when an Iowa congressman named John F. Lacey proposed a bill that protected U.S. plants and wildlife by creating civil penalties for those that violated the rules and regulations. The bill also authorized the Secretary of the Interior to restore game animals and birds into areas that had previously become extinct or rare. The bill was eventually signed into law by President McKinley on May 25th, 1900. Okay, I get it. This isn't a political history channel, so let's get to what we actually came for. Guitars. The Gibson Mandolin Guitar Manufacturing Company Limited was founded actually 2 years after the Lacey Act was passed in Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1902. Gibson's known for inventing the signature archtop guitar that was based off the original violin type body, and by the 1930s was making a flat top hollow body guitar that was used in the big band era. Many big band era guitar makers would actually go on to imitate or even copy Gibson's Super 400 design. Now for the good stuff. At the time of the story, Gibson and just about every other guitar company imported their tone woods from other parts of the world. These included woods such as ebony, rosewood, and other highly resonant woods. The woods usually came from countries like India, Madagascar, other parts of Africa, and Japan. These exotic woods would eventually become signature components of many of the guitar companies and guitars that we love today. Now, throughout the years, another industry started consuming these exotic tone woods alongside the guitar industry. The Chinese furniture industry is actually responsible for clearing miles and miles of forests in Africa, Asia, and other countries. Now, the guitar industry's consumption of these exotic tone woods pales in comparison to what the Chinese furniture industry does. But in response to massive amounts of logging and deforestation, many countries went on to regulate the logging industry, and some making it just flat out illegal. To help protect American logging jobs and help the fight against deforestation and poaching, Congress revisited our favorite law. The Lacey Act was actually amended in 2008 to include illegal logging practices. This mandated that American companies imported legal exotic woods. The importation of these woods could not violate any local laws of the producing country. Easy, right? Well, unfortunately, after the amendment was signed, Gibson was still conducting business importing Madagascar ebony and Indian rosewood. The importation of these woods was technically illegal after the passing of the act. In fact, a Gibson employee traveled to Madagascar for a nonprofit trip in 2008. While there, the employee was told about a Madagascar law that was passed in 2006 that outlawed the exportation of any unfinished ebony for any purpose. When the employee returned stateside, he sent this information via email up to Gibson executives. But the issue was not investigated or acted upon. Gibson would then receive 4 shipments of Madagascar ebony from its supplier, and this was between October 2008 and September 2009. Now, as with any good scandal, I got 2 words for you: paper trail. So the U.S. Department of Justice would actually get their hands on the emails that were sent up from the employee up to Gibson leadership. After a little bit of investigation, this prompted full-on raids of Gibson factories in 2009 and 2011. The raids seized the illegally imported woods, some of which at the time was Indian rosewood that was illegally marked when it cleared customs. Gibson denied any wrongdoing and then filed a motion in 2011 to recover the seized materials. Gibson also argued against federal regulations and claimed that the raids actually threatened U.S. jobs, which they kind of did. Now, this is where politics come into the story and show just how polar this guitar issue really was. Since Gibson went as far as to claim that the raids threatened U.S. jobs, Tea Party conservatives ate this up and threw their support behind the Gibson Guitar Company. Conservative commentators actually went as far as to allege that the raids were politically motivated by the Obama administration. This is because Gibson owner at the time, Harry Justowicz, actually frequently donated to Republican politicians. And making the situation even more suspect was the fact that the C.F. Martin Guitar Company did not experience any such raid, even though they made guitars with the exact same Indian rosewood as Gibson was making. It was later speculated that the Martin Guitar Company got off because CEO at the time, Chris Martin IV, donated over $35,000 to the Democratic National Committee. To me, it seems like a lot of speculation. I'll leave the political theories up to y'all. Now, eventually, Gibson admitted to violating the Lacey Act and paid a fine of $300,000 with a $50,000 community payment. Gibson also forfeited any illegal tone woods to the US government. Gibson would go on to publicly maintain its innocence, as Justowick stated that fighting the case in the courts would have cost them millions as opposed to the $300,000 fine. Now it's time for the main attraction. Gibson would eventually reclaim some of the illegal wood seized in the raids. They were able to prove that the Indian rosewood that was confiscated was indeed legal. In a bold move specifically designed to give it to the man, Gibson would go on to make a series of guitars with the reclaimed wood. Gibson pumped out about 1,750 guitars branded the Government Series, giving a straight middle finger to international trade regulations. The series would include Les Pauls, SGs, Explorers, and Flying Vs in gunmetal gray and government tan. The company stamped the pick guards with a bald eagle holding a guitar neck. The Government Series sold pretty well, and it actually prompted a second run called the Government 2 Series. I'm personally truly curious about what the feds thought about this because I think the guitars looked pretty cool. Now let's take a close look at the specs of one of these guitars. So with the Government Series Les Paul, we have a carved maple top with a mahogany body, a glued-in mahogany neck with a fretboard made of seized Indian rosewood. We have a vintage gloss finish in either Government Tan or the Gunmetal Gray, tune-o-matic bridge with a stop bar tailpiece, and Grover tuners. Electronics include 2 Hot Dirty Fingers Plus humbuckers with the traditional Les Paul selector switch and 4 tone and volume knobs down at the bottom. Not a bad looking guitar. Now after the dust settled, what became of the Gibson Guitar Company? Unfortunately, within 7 years of the raids, Justowick ran the company into $500 million worth of debt. This contributed to the Gibson bankruptcy that many of us kind of heard about and know about within the recent years. Now the fallout of the raids caused many guitar companies to revisit how they import and harvest tone woods around the world. Many companies have actually started to harvest different tone woods that some of their consumers actually like better. Now some of the way these new tone woods are harvested and the way they go about getting them is actually cheaper, which carries over and sometimes means smaller price tags at checkout for consumers. Now, if you have a Government Series guitar, let me know in the comments. I'm super curious about them as I've never seen one and I've got some questions for you. And that does it for this video on the Government Series guitars from Gibson. Now, if you like short videos on guitar history, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it as it helps me make more videos to bring to you. I just wanted to thank all of you for stopping by and watching the video, and have a great day.